Speaker, the last speaker spoke at some length about the Christchurch earthquake, and I wanted to actually start on that same point and point out that actually today marks 8 months since the first earthquake ripped through Canterbury and began what has been, without question, the toughest period ever, I believe, for our region, and it will continue to be so for some time. And in fact, the rebuilding of Canterbury is, quite rightly, one of the most important priorities for this government, not just this year but for many years to come. And it was heartening to hear Finance Minister Bill English today talk about the $5.5 billion that we will see allocated to that job, the rebuilding of my province of Canterbury, in this year's budget. Now, that $5.5 billion, sir, covers off things, of course, like our contribution to the rebuilding of local infrastructure. It covers off insurance excesses on schools and hospitals and other government buildings within the region. It deals with things like land remediation costs as identified from the September quake, temporary housing, demolition costs, ACC costs, income support, business support. But one of the things that I think is most interesting, and in a way you'd never want to have to learn it, but it's really brought into sharp focus, these earthquakes, how important it is to have a strong and resilient economy. Because in the days immediately following those earthquakes, both in September and on February the 22nd, the one thing we needed to be able to do as a government, and we did do, was say to people straight away that we're there to support you, we will provide the housing you need, we can provide business support. After both earthquakes, immediately there was a package available that anyone could access that ensured that their incomes would not be lost. Any employer could ensure that they could put wages in their employees' bank accounts in the weeks ahead. And I can tell you that is the sort of a comfort and support that Cantabrians needed. And that sort of thing costs a government greatly, but it is a cost we're happy to pay. But, sir, it tells us how important it is to get this economy back on track, to rebuild the strength of our economy, to get government finances under control, to get away from that excessive orgy of consumption and debt that we saw through the early 2000s, and to get the economy onto a footing that can sustain these darkest of times. The earthquakes will put the path back to surplus back a little, but it is a path we are very much on, and I, for one, would never trade the support and the rebuilding of Christchurch for that slightly quicker path. But we must, sir, we must get Canterbury rebuilt, and we must get this economy back on track. And that is exactly, sir, what this budget on May the 19th will deliver. It will focus on growth, and it will focus on growth that is meaningful, not government spending, policy analysts and more handouts from government. It'll build on growth that comes from the productive sector. Sir, the farmers, the manufacturers, the small businesses, the people who actually pay taxes in this country. Remember them? The ones who actually pay for all the stuff that crowd want to spend. Really good at standing up and spending, really good at that. But every opportunity the Labour Party gets to kick the people who actually pay taxes, they take.
That's right.
Well, not us. We understand that real growth means supporting people who pay tax. That's what it means, and that's what this budget is going to be focused on. It's going to mean getting the government spending under control. Any party who thinks you can fix an economy by spending more and more and more and borrowing more and more and more is in loony land. They're in loony land, which actually is no surprise, given that that's pretty much where Phil Goss lives. We have to get this economy focused on growth, jobs, wages and sustainable jobs. Sustainable jobs. We've got to get them behind the people in this country who pay taxes every week, and we've got to make sure that we can look them in the eye and say that every single dollar of tax that they've paid, we are going to spend as if it was our own money. We are going to make sure that we get the best outcomes for that spend we can.
That's right.
That's what this government's focused on. We are going to get back to surplus. And isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting to hear Phil Goff this afternoon complain bitterly that we're borrowing $300 million a week when he has already committed, were he re-elected, not that it's going to happen, committed to spending billions and billions of dollars more. And we know where that's going to come from.
$5.5 billion.
It's going to come from debt. He's going to take the GST off blackcurrants and that'll fix it. No, he is going to borrow more. He is going to put this economy back into recession, and that's why New Zealand is going to reject him once more in November.
Keith Locke.